Not live from New York.
No, we're actually recording. Right. Interesting take on this, and we'll talk a little bit more. But I'm going to tell you right off the bat, I'm going to nominate this one for Best Original Screenplay for our for our Film Critics Association.
Yeah, and I think, aren't they doing a Best Casting at the Oscars this year? Like, this is kind of like
ensemble
a movie
cast.
that they were like, okay, just get this in production now.
Yeah. So let's go. Let's talk about it. Live recorded from our
Minnesota.
Minnesota. Let's talk Saturday Night.
Welcome back to the show, everybody.
All right, welcome back to the show. I'm Nick from the St. Paul Filmcast. Thanks for finding us, thanks for watching, and once again, thanks our loyal fans for continuing to support the show. We do have a Patreon. Check that out for some great deals and great content and opportunities to tell us what movies we review for future episodes. Of course, a shout out to you as well. And Kyle and I are members of the Minnesota Film Critics Association. Check out that webpage for critics reviews as well as ours. And today we're talking Saturday Night. What in the hell is going on? As if we didn't know.
In 90 minutes, they will be live from New York. Lorne Michaels' career and livelihood are on the line as he attempts to wrangle his cast, keep his crew from quitting, and organize his show. Or the network assures him that they have Carson reruns ready to go. The not quite ready for primetime players must come together or fail spectacularly.
So I'll just recap because you could probably find it on the internet. Johnny Carson was owning the rights to his show now, and he wanted less time. So instead of running the highlights on Saturday night, which NBC used to do, he wanted to do on the weekdays and get more time off. NBC balked at that because they would have to pay him more money and have less airtime, not to mention they don't own the rights to his show anymore. So there was kind of the fighting of, well, we have open time slot, let's just have the kids try it out.
Yeah.
So that's how you get Saturday night. I'm going to say right now, I'm really impressed with this movie. It's going to be in my top 20. I don't know if it's going to be in my top 10 at the end, but it's going to be somewhere in there.
Rewatching this movie has made me deeply consider putting it back in my top 10 because it missed out just barely when I had seen it last. It was kind of like my number 11 where I was like, oh, I think it's so good.
Right.
But it's been a really good year. So I'm actually going to rewatch most of the movies I've seen this year in my top 10 just to see if it's going to crack that because what an excellent movie. Now, the thing about this movie is I think this is inside baseball. I think if you don't watch Saturday Night Live, if you were not a fan of the older 70s, 80s versions of the show, I don't think this is going to do anything for you. I think this was an insane idea to make this movie. It's probably way too expensive for the amount of money it ever could have made theatrically because there's a very small group of people that are here to watch this movie, but I'm one of those people.
Right. I understand it's in a fictitious account of what transpired to get production made. You kind of squishing all this drama that happened years of making it, not to mention it, and then years afterwards and crunching into one night. I understand a lot of it didn't really transpire that way.
Not in that order, yeah.
Not
a lot
in
of
that
these
order.
things really happened, but not in that way.
Yeah, it's almost like I was watching that, I was thinking like Picasso, art is lying to reveal the truth. And you're revealing the truth of scenarios that didn't really transpire, but you understand everybody's personalities through that.
Yeah.
I do like I'm going to probably nominate for Best Ensemble Cast, Best Original Screenplay. The fact it's edited, really, really cleverly edited, because you get a lot of the scenes and then you just cut to like drama or cut to the fun, but also the music entices it a little bit as well.
Yeah, John Batiste did the music. He's the one who appears in the film as Billy Preston, and he did the music. I love John Batiste. He worked on things like he has a great documentary about his life called
Stephen
American
Colbert,
Symphony.
right?
He was. I think it was Colbert's show. Yeah. John Batiste is wonderful, and he's really great because he's a fun-loving guy. If you ever watch an interview with him, he actually just can't get through a sentence without giggling. So he must have been fun to be on set.
Well, he is smiling in the movie. Yeah.
He recorded the music, I guess, as they were filming the show. Like it wasn't done afterwards or before. He was recording the music on the set while they were doing this. So I think that's kind of interesting. But it's got that really kind of frenetic pace to the music. It feels like Birdman by way of 24, and that's what I relate this film to. It's kind of like the show 24.
It keeps the tempo up, even when they probably shoot it, the action and drama is kind of subdued, but the music keeps the action.
It has to build because they're running out of time.
I know I don't want to highlight a lot of performances because I think everybody's doing a fantastic job. Whoever did Dan Aykroyd is killing it.
Well, he's maybe the only actor, not the only actor, but one of the only actors that I actually knew from something else. It's Dylan O'Brien, who was on the Teen Wolf TV show. He was in the Maze Runner movies.
I forgot Timo did it.
He disappeared into Dan Aykroyd. I thought that was fantastic.
Brett Garvin.
And what's funny is, the male prostitute character didn't come around until like the 4th season. So that's another example of like things that they kind of like squeezed in, because I don't think he was really working on it that much in advance. For me, the standouts are the ones where the people that they're playing are the iconic people, and it seems almost impossible that they could do that. And I think Corey Michael Smith as Chevy Chase.
I'm going to nominate
is fantastic in this movie.
He's not doing a caricature of him.
Yeah, he's not really doing an impression.
I'm thinking almost like Kate Blanchett doing Katharine Hepburn in Aviator. She's doing her impersonation. She's not doing a mimic copy of impersonation. He's doing his own version of.
Yeah, and I was impressed by him. I was only really aware of Corey Michael Smith because he played Edward Nygma in the Gotham TV show, and that's all I'd really seen from him. And so when I saw him being in this movie, I was like, Chevy Chase? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He completely disappears. I think every person that's cast in this movie is perfect for the person they're playing. I also want to highlight Lamorne Morris from New Girl, who plays Garrett Morris. They're not related. They have the same last name.
Clever.
Lamorne Morris used to tell people when he was a kid that Garrett Morris was his dad. So it's kind of kismet that it comes back around again.
Right. And again, everybody's personalities, everybody's performances. Cooper Hoffman is wonderful again in this. One of my favorite rising stars is Rachel Sennett.
Oh, yeah.
And she was great into I Used to Be Funny. I'm getting that title right?
I think that's what it was.
Not funny anymore.
But she was in a movie called Bottoms last year. That was a really great fight club for lesbians.
Yeah, she really came out with that one. Yeah.
And then I adore her in Bodies, the horror comedy from A24 from a couple years back. She was great in that movie as well. And you're right. Every time I see her, I love her. She is so magnetic of a performance in everything she's in, and she's great playing off of Gabriel LaBelle. And Gabriel LaBelle too. I really liked him in The Fabelmans. I thought he was so much better in this movie.
Right. He has to navigate. He's the glue of it, because if you have to be convinced of that role, and everybody else can do their part.
Yep. And he is playing a version of Lorne Michaels that is 10 years older than the actor. Lorne Michaels is 31 when this was happening. Gabriel LaBelle's 21, but he feels like he has that age. Like he has that weathered, this could be the end of my career age to him. Yeah. And he's become like, he's not that kind of playful 20s anymore. Now he's like, I've got to make something for myself 30s.
Now we're talking about fresh young actors and the ensemble cast, but we're talking about also, they put in veterans like J.K. Simmons, who's done a wonderful impersonation of Milton Berle, and not to mention you also have Willem Dafoe to round out, kind of flush out the seasoned actors, kind of almost like peppering the plate.
Yeah, and I think Simmons and Dafoe are the two that have actually hosted Saturday Night Live, I believe. So that's kind of interesting that they've actually come back around to it.
Yeah, but you get the dynamic. You get everybody that's working on the crew don't really believe wholesale this is going to work.
Yep.
You get even the cast doesn't really get along very well because they're, it's like egos clashing together. And then you get this whole mess, and you wonder, how did this pull off? Well, it kind of was janky, and that was kind of the enticement of it. You didn't know what was going to transpire or if it was going to be effective work, and that was the first 2 years of Saturday Night.
Yeah, and it's funny that there's a self-awareness for Jason Reitman. His father, Ivan Reitman, knew a lot of these people.
Ivan,
Reitman had been on the set of Saturday Night Live in like the 80s and such, and so he was aware of kind of the people that were in this kind of circle.
He didn't know Ivan directed Ghostbusters.
Yeah, and Jason directed the third one. So it's kind of like he's kind of always had that connection to his father in those ways. Ivan recently passed away a couple years back. So Jason Reitman knows the material he's working with here, and he's having fun with it too. And I think in some ways where, there's the crew that's talking to the guy laying the bricks about you'll be gone in 2 weeks, they say to him.
Yeah.
That guy is the only person still working on Saturday Night Live this long after the show is on. Like the person he's playing is still with the show. Right. So you'll be gone in 2 weeks, not a thing. Alan Zweibel.
That was the gimmick, was we don't know how long it's going to last, but just break barriers.
Yeah, we're going to do what we can with what we have.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is Alan Zweibel was writing jokes for people, and then, and because he was too afraid to be on stage. The funny thing is, I met Alan Zweibel, and I've seen him on stage. Although he wasn't doing comedian stuff at the time, he was in the band The Rock Bottom Remainders with Stephen
a lot of
King.
this. So sorry to interrupt, but a lot of stuff that is in this movie is lifted from his autobiography of working on there. Yeah.
So it's a fantastic cast. I don't think there's a single bad person in the movie.
No.
I think there's
everybody's. It's not like a wink at a camera, like, I can't believe I'm doing this.
Yeah.
You totally buy into it.
I think the most impressive performances, the ones that I almost had to do a double take with, was Nicholas Braun. Because he plays Andy Kaufman in the film, who already has kind of a very legendary performance from Jim Carrey in Man on the Moon. So you have to separate yourself from that. But the funny thing is, Nicholas Braun also plays Jim Henson, and it doesn't really matter The funny thing about it was that it feels like art imitating life, imitating art, because Nicholas Braun was only going to play Kaufman, but then Benny Safdie, the director, was going to play Jim Henson and had to bow out.
Oh,
I believe it was Jim Henson he bowed out of. And so they needed last minute someone to play Jim Henson. And so that feels like a very Saturday night choice, is you play both roles.
Yeah. Very much like Peter Sellers did in Dr. Strangelove.
Yeah.
Just do 3 different things and work it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're completely sold on this movie. I highly recommend checking it out by the end of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I'll tell a lot of people is that it's the kind of thing that when you watch it, if this is the movie that is for you, and you'll know based on that trailer if this is for you, it works wonders on that level, and it will make you want to go home and rewatch those old episodes, because that's what I did both times I watched this. Was I went back and watched the first episode immediately after.
Well, I rewatched this movie
great.
because once I recognize who they're portraying, you want to capture it again. So this is the rewatchability is right there too.
Yeah. And I think there's a great attention to detail. There's a lot of things happening in the background. There's a box of colon blow just on a shelf, which wouldn't come around till like the 80s.
No.
But they're just aware of the fact that those people are going to be looking for those things. My favorite
But that's what I'm
detail,
saying, that the whole concept of the movie is compress all this history into one night that not a lot transpired. I don't think Chevy Chase and Milton Berle met each other. You know, and then the funny thing, probably not, but Ellen Zweibel talked about that happened to him. But yeah, the event of Milton, we all know Milton Berle got banned because of his racist and misogynistic and homophobic jokes that he did, and you could never find that episode ever.
Yeah, I still don't know if that's on Peacock or not.
No,
it was pulled from circulation. I wonder if it made it to the DVDs, because they released that season on DVD, and I haven't gone to check my episodes to see if I have it. But yeah, Milton Berle, and again, J.K. Simmons unaware of the fact that he was going to be wearing a prosthesis for the film. For his big reveal scene, if you will.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy the fact that at one point he pulled it out too quick, and it flopped on the ground and made a big splonk sound, and everyone lost their control on the set. It had a very good energy to this movie.
Very much like Saturday Night Live.
Yep.
You don't know what you're going to get. So we highly recommend it. I don't know. It's going to be definitely in my top 20. It might eke into the top 10.
Yeah, it's a movie, again, rewatching it, I really adored it. I can't recommend it enough to fans of Saturday Night. I think this 90-minute crunching of the film works better than the original idea, which was going to be a drawn-out, the creation of the show. I think it works better.
And that's the initial criticism of this movie. Why don't you just do the whole year's history? No!
I think it's more effective because it showcases before the episode is made, too.
Right, yeah.
So, yeah, all around a fantastic film. Great performances. Yeah. The thing is, we could spend the time just talking about everybody in this movie, and I would have a blast. But then we'd have to talk about the rest of the movie afterwards.
I know. So. Matt Wood did perform. John Belushi, man. Everybody nailed it.
Yeah.
Right. So, what do you think of our assessment of Saturday Night?
Yeah. Who is your favorite performance from someone playing a real-life person in the film? Like, we'd love to find out about that, because we have our favorites, clearly. But I think anybody could be yours.
Whoever the person that did Jane Curtin was perfect, too.
Yeah, I don't even know her, but I was like you knew her without knowing that was who she was playing.
You know you're nailing it, right. Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you guys for joining us for another episode of Kyle and Nick on Film.
Yes.
Next week we'll have people playing us in a run-up to our first episode. I think we should do that.
Thanks for watching.